Hello and welcome to Golf News Kicking Back. We are into the second round of group games at the 2022 FIFA World Cup in Qatar. There have been 3 games today. Iran beat Wales by 2-0. Senegal beat Qatar 3-1. And the Netherlands have just played out a 1-1 draw against Ecuador. Now, the result of that last match means that the host nation, Qatar, are out of the World Cup. They can't make it to the round of 16 anymore, having lost their first 2 games of the tournament. Sham, it was difficult for the team playing in their first World Cup, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Not just that, we also need to be aware of the fact that Qatar are in the World Cup simply because they are the host. They didn't have to go through the qualification process. So, which itself means that they didn't have adequate preparations to be in the World Cup. Not just that, they as a footballing nation, they are say placed 50th in the world. But you have somebody like Ghana, who is I think 61 in the world. So considering that, Qatar should have played better than that. But the thing is, Qatar has never been on this big stage. And if you look at the previous game, you could see it's all amounted to something like the stage fright. Today wasn't any better either. So I think they still have a long way to go, and they need to be exposed to playing these big teams more often to get over this fear factor.
You're absolutely right, Sham. Nick, did you expect just a little bit more from them being the host nation, having the support of the nation? Everybody was there, willing them on. We know how passionate the fans are for their football team. Did you think that, with just a bit more effort, maybe desire, a bit more passion, that they could have, maybe picked up a point somewhere and then got into the last group game with the possibility of still making it through?
Yeah, fair point, Imran. I agree with you there. I didn't quite feel the passion and of the typical home nation. Let's celebrate that they did score a goal, and that was well received. And I think they were unlucky not to get a penalty. It looked more of a penalty than the Ronaldo one, but that's for another time to discuss. But Qatar, a little bit disappointing and out already. Crumbs, is it 6 days in, 5 days in, and they're out already? But they've been good hosts, I think, but a shame that they're out.
Yeah, it is a shame. When the host nation goes out this early, you kind of feel that the tournament might start to dip, but there's still plenty of good teams still in there. And well, there might not be, because with the way the tournament started so far, with Germany losing and Argentina losing, who knows? I mean, we could be seeing some more big teams going out. But unlucky to Qatar, they tried their best. It just wasn't to be. Better luck next time for them. Earlier in the day, Iran played against Wales. Now, as we know, Iran started off their tournament against England, and they were heavily beaten 6-2 by Gareth Southgate's men. Today, they came back, and it took them until injury time to break the deadlock. And it happened because Wales lost their goalkeeper, Hennessy, following a terrible foul. He just mistimed. He ran out, tried to clearing a ball, and he chopped down, I think it was Taremi for Iran. He was shown a red card. But it took it took Iran until the 98th minute to break that deadlock. They did deserve it, and then they got their second goal. But overall, I think they did deserve it. They were the better team. But how do you think they got on today?
I think they were far better than the rout against England. Not just the fact that they were goalless till the injury time, but the fact that Wales never turned up for the match seriously, because Aaron Ramsey and especially and the talisman Gareth Bale didn't show up for the match. So these are players who should actually spearhead the Wales challenge, and when they don't lead the team, this is precisely what happens. I mean, the rest of the team is unable to lift themselves up, and I think on that account, Iran fully deserved the victory simply because that first goal was a rocket, really, and it was hardly any gap there. I don't know how he found the space, and it came like a bullet, and this got a goalkeeper by surprise. And soon enough, okay, when there's no difference between 1-0 and 2-0 in injury time, simply because you just go out in search of the equalizer, which is why the second goal fell as well. But I think all in all, I think Iran thoroughly deserved to win today.
Yeah, they did. Nick, I mean, we saw them in their first game against England. and they looked, let's be honest, they looked terrible. I mean, they were heavily beaten, but they did show that they have got, some attacking strengths in them. They got 2 goals back against England that day. But today they've done well. They held on. Like Sham says, Wales were quite disappointing. Nothing really from the 2 main players, Bale and Ramsey. But now suddenly Iran are looking quite good, aren't they? I mean, do you think they could get out of the group?
Yeah, I was impressed with their energy, fitness. It's tough to, come back from a 6-2 loss mentally. The manager and the team must have really turned them round and gave them a positive outlook. But I just felt as though Wales ran out of ideas. They were always on the back foot. We always expected Iran to score. Joe Allen, we've been waiting for him. Very poor clearance from Joe Allen that led to the first goal, and the second goal, as Sham said, didn't really matter. But I was impressed with the high energy of Iran, and fingers crossed they can move on. Let's bring on the next game.
Well, they could move on, but Wales, because of that one draw against the US in their first game, got them that one valuable point. It's their first World Cup in 64 years, and they're not quite out of it just yet. So they still have an outside chance if they win their final game against England. And if then I think Iran have to lose against the US, or there has to be a draw there or something. But mathematically, Wales have still got an outside chance, so they'll be hoping that they can sneak in there somehow. But you're right, they were off form today, and Iran deserved the points. All right, in the third game, the Netherlands against Ecuador has just finished 1-1. It was a frantic 1-1 draw. It was a really good game. The Netherlands took the lead with the quickest goal of the World Cup so far from Gapco. He smashed one into the top corner. But then in the second half, it was that man again, Enner Valencia. He scored 2 against Qatar. He was on the score sheet again. He drew the Ecuadorians level. But then Sham, worryingly, he was stretchered off today. Now, he's the top goal scorer in the tournament so far. He's got 3 goals, and he's been looking very lively. He's had 2 really good games so far. If he's ruled out for maybe the next game or the rest of the tournament, how badly do you think Ecuador will miss Enner Valencia?
No, very badly. I think, see, one thing, he's the talisman there. And if you look at the 3 goals, he scored 3 goals already in the tournament, which means out of the 4 goals, out of the 3 goals, I think, all the 3 goals in this tournament scored by Ecuador came from the boots of Enner Valencia. So, which means they will miss him very, very badly. So I think it's a shame that if he doesn't play the next match, but I'm still hopeful. I hope the injury is not too bad. If you remember the last match, again he was substituted very early, and he had a huge ice pack around his knee, and so I hope it's something like that, and he comes back to play the next game, because Ecuador on the strength of today's performance, Ecuador deserves to be in the next stage, the round of 16.
Guys, speaking of injuries there, as Sham rightly mentioned, Neymar is out for the next 2 games now. He picked up a terrible injury against Serbia. There was a picture of his ankle. It's swollen about there. And he's definitely ruled out of the next 2 games. But they've got Richarlison there, Nick, who scored 2 lovely goals. Well, 1 lovely goal, the overhead kick, and a striker's finish for the first one. But Nick, do you think Brazil could be missing Neymar if he's out for those 2 games? They've got so many attackers. I mean, they surely won't miss Neymar.
No, and the guys behind the scenes with the magic sponge. It's me. I trip down the stairs occasionally. It looks like a balloon in my right ankle. So they're athletes. They're used to it. The few injections, the magic sponge, they can turn them around and roll them out onto the pitch. So I think I've no worries of Brazil and the strength and depth of their squad. And let's hope, Neymar's back as soon as he can be.
Yeah, let's hope for the sake of the tournament. We don't want to lose any more players. We've lost so many in the build-up of the World Cup because of the leagues trying to fit in so many games. The congestion has caused injuries all over the place. So hopefully Neymar's back and raring to go. Tomorrow we have 4 games. Let's have a quick preview of them. We've got Poland playing against Saudi Arabia. Now, as we all know, the Saudi Arabians pulled off the biggest shock of all time in the World Cup. I think that's fair to say, by beating much fancied Argentina 2-1. Sham, they're facing Poland tomorrow, who had they were held to a 0-0 draw against Mexico in their first game. Lewandowski missed the penalty. They could have had a 1-0 win. How do you think now, considering, on the high that the Saudis must be on, they must be on cloud nine. They probably believe, they can probably put 2 or 3 past Poland, don't you think?
I think you could see another upset tomorrow, and I think Saudi Arabia could win simply because the momentum is with them. They have self-belief, and not just that. Poland has not been great in the last match. So if you look at that, and there is every chance of Saudi Arabia pulling off another upset win.
Nick, can you see another upset? I can. Like Sham says, I also think they can. The way they played, I mean, if you just look at that performance against Argentina, if they can do that, if they play 50% to that against Poland, I think they're good enough for a win there. How do you think they'll get on tomorrow?
Yeah, I think as long as they're positive, go for it. Let's hope the management doesn't say, let's go for a draw to get through. If they keep their natural play like they did in the first match, I think they'll be fine. But you never know behind the scenes what will happen. But stay positive, go for it. I think Saudi are on for a great run, and even more than they've had so far.
I think I agree with that. I can see them coming out of the group. But the other game, Argentina now against Mexico. And the Argentinian players are already saying, Sham, that the game against Mexico is their World Cup final because they just cannot afford to lose this. We all know it's going to be Messi's last World Cup. He's 35. He's not turning up anymore for the next one. For the sake of Messi alone, they're going to have to put in a proper performance because against Saudi Arabia, as good as Saudi Arabia were, Argentina were quite poor. How do you think they'll do tomorrow against Mexico, Sham?
I think they'll be fine because this is a do-or-die battle for them. If they lose, or if they draw, they're pretty much out of the tournament. So, like you said, this is pretty much a final for them. So I believe they have it in them to pull their socks and come back with a performance to beat Mexico. But having said that, Mexico are no pushovers. They are a bunch of terriers. They can run down all day long. So we are in for a good match tomorrow.
The other 2 games are Tunisia against Australia, but the other one that we're going to just briefly talk about is France against Denmark. Now, Nick, France have played Denmark twice this year in the Nations League, and they've lost twice against them, 2-0 both times. Denmark aren't no pushovers. How do you see this one going tomorrow?
Quite even, like you said. Nations Cup, let's put that to the side, as England proved as well. This is the World Cup, the big one. I think France-Denmark is looks like a draw to me. It's pretty evenly matched, in my opinion.
Sham, France were looking really good against Australia in their first game. They absolutely destroyed them, even though they conceded the first goal. But with the quality that they've got, Mbappe, Giroud, the Rabiot, the list goes on. Do you think it'll be a tough game for them tomorrow against the Danes?
It will be a tough game, but I believe that France have enough quality in them to grab 3 points there, and it's looking like a 2-0 win for me.
2-0 win, right? I think I can see a similar result. I think France are going to be just a bit too good for the Danes. Cagey game, I think, but probably Mbappe is going to get back onto the score sheet. Right, that's all for us for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow to see how those 4 teams, those 4 matches get on. In the meantime, head to golfnews.com for all the latest news and reviews, and check us out on all our social media channels. That's all from the guys, and we will see you all again tomorrow night. Good night.